The central portion of the Apennine mountain range forms the backbone of the Italian peninsula. This is a harsh land, deep river valleys, high plateaus rising over 1,000 meters, mountain passes impassable during the winter months. On these lands, stretching from the Sangro River in the north to the slopes of Vulture in the south, Samnite civilization took shape. A fundamental principle of historical analysis must be grasped. Geography determines social structure. Plains favor intensive agriculture, concentration of urban populations, formation of urban elites. Mountains dictate dispersal, self-sufficiency, political fragmentation. Rome and Capua represented the plains model. Fortified cities, centralized magistracies, monetary economy. Samnium presented a structural antithesis, scattered communities, dispersed authority, pastoral economy. This does not mean backwardness, this means adaptation. The Samnites were not barbarians, but a complex society that developed sophisticated institutions in response to the demands of their environment. The term Samnites is an exonym, a designation assigned by external observers, primarily Romans and Greeks. They called themselves Samnites, a term sharing the same root as the ethnonym Sabines. This linguistic kinship points to a common origin of the Italic peoples of the central Apennines. The Samnites did not constitute a single political entity, but represented a federation of 4 distinct peoples. In the Oscan language, this alliance was called Tuto. Its 4 components were the Pentri, who occupied the mountainous heart of the region in the territory of modern Molise, the Caudini, settled in the western valleys facing Campania, the Hirpini in the southern sector, the Caraceni in the northern zone. This federation had no permanent capital. Power was concentrated in Sephardic sanctuaries, sacred sites where tribal representatives gathered to resolve matters of common concern. The most important center was Pietrabondante in the modern province of Isernia, where archaeological excavations have uncovered a theater and temple of considerable monumentality. The supreme magistrate of the Federation bore the title Medix Tuticus, literally judge of the people. The office was elective and probably annual, a model functionally analogous to the Roman consulship. In wartime, the Medix Tuticus assumed command of the federal army. The Samnite economy was based on transhuman pastoralism, transhumance. Twice a year, in spring and autumn, shepherds drove their flocks along the tratturi, millennia-old routes connecting the mountain summer pastures with the coastal plains of Apulia, where livestock wintered. This practice shaped people hardened to hardship, knowing every valley and every pass, capable of covering great distances in harsh conditions. It was no coincidence that Samnite warriors were considered among the most formidable on the Italian peninsula. The language of these peoples was Oscan, belonging to the Italic language family, like Latin, but distinctly different from it. In the 4th century BCE, Oscan was the dominant language of central and southern Italy, spoken not only by the Samnites, but also by the Lucanians, Brutians, Campanians, and many other peoples. One peculiar institution deserves special mention: Ver Sacrum, the sacred spring. In times of crisis, famine, overpopulation, plague, a generation of young people was consecrated to the gods and sent forth to seek new lands. This mechanism was not purely ritual. It represented a systematic instrument of territorial expansion and demographic pressure relief. The Lucanians and the Hirpini themselves were, according to tradition, the product of ancient Samnite Ver Sacra. Samnite defensive strategy reflected the character of the terrain. They did not build walls around cities on the plains, as the Romans, Etruscans, or Greeks did. They fortified the heights. The so-called oppida were enclosures of polygonal masonry erected on commanding heights. These structures did not serve as places of permanent habitation, but as refuges in times of war. The population, normally dispersed across open villages and isolated farmsteads, could quickly retreat to the heights, bringing their livestock and movable property with them. This network of fortresses made Samnium virtually impregnable to conventional methods of ancient warfare. An invading army could occupy the valleys, but could not control the mountains. Every ridge concealed a new pocket of resistance. Every pass could become an ambush. Thus, Rome prepared to confront not a disorganized horde, but a structured politico-military system, a federation with its own magistracies, common sanctuaries, a literary language, a coherent economy, an integrated defense system. In a certain sense, the Samnites represented a mirror image of Rome itself, an expansionist people, organized for war, determined to control the resources of the peninsula. The conflict between these two systems was structurally inevitable. The mountain peoples needed access to the plains for winter pastures. Rome, expanding southward, crossed the transhumance routes. Campania, fertile and wealthy, became the point of friction. Two incompatible territorial logics, two expansionist societies. War was not the product of diplomatic incidents or personal ambitions. It was the result of geographic and demographic forces that made peaceful coexistence impossible in the long term.